How good can your content really be if you're creating it from a place of chaos, running around, scrambling to make it happen, and doubting yourself? I ask you this because the other day I found myself doing that. I was like scrambling to make sure that I created my content. And I stopped myself and I said, wait a minute, from what state am I creating my content? Because I know it's changing the way that I'm showing up, and it's the way that my audience is feeling me. So if you ever find yourself looking for a way to get the best hook, the best strategy, and get everything perfect, you could create the perfect script, but when it comes time to press publish, you can realize that it was created from a state of fear or incoherence. And maybe you're just trying to people please or trying to say things that really aren't you because that's what someone told you it worked in their videos. Maybe even spend 10 or 20 minutes creating content and nothing is usable. Stay with me here because I promise you by the end of this video, I'm going to be sharing something with you that's really going to be a game changer and the way that you show up before you press record. Something's going on in social media. It's called being more natural. Not having AI, not having all of this perfect content. The trend is actually called yapping, meaning that you say what you want to say, you have a conversation with your audience, and you really allow yourself to get a great point across. So I want to ask you this question. If you knew you were really comfortable behind the camera, and that you were comfortable talking about your expertise, and you had someone sitting in front of you, what would you say to them? What would you say to that person in the cafe if they asked you what you do and how you can help their lives? And how can you create content from that space? Now, I'm sure you know about the power of visualization. I mean, imagine going on stage and not really visualizing yourself before you do a performance as a musician or a dancer, or if you're a professional athlete and you don't actually visualize yourself making the shot. And so what I want to invite to you in this video is something that I do and that other people have been practicing and having really incredible results. But I want to tell you a little bit about where this comes from, because before I was teaching about visibility and branding, when I began my online business, it actually began as a transformational coach back in 2014. I was in transition after a divorce and I didn't feel very calm. I felt very unsettled. And instead of closing my eyes and being able to feel calm, I felt really at unrest. So I began meditating and learning about sound meditations, which you can see my sound bowls here. And that led me to becoming a transformational coach. And in my process of being a transformational coach, I had the privilege to go to a seminar with Bob Proctor. Now, if you don't know who Bob Proctor is, he's one of the prominent authors of The Secret, one of the godfathers of personal development. And he actually had this entire program, which is the one that I was in, that was called Thinking into Results. Basically, the premise is that if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. So I want to ask you this, before you create content, what are you seeing in your mind? And what is it that you want to hold in your hand? Now, sometimes being online is a little etheric, meaning there's nothing you can really hold on to except your microphone and your telephone. And we're in this digital world. So the most important thing you can hold on to is your courage, your vision, and staying grounded in your nervous system, in your belief, and why you are creating your content. Now, I love to create content for experts or people who have done the work, got the certifications, worked with clients, and women who really want to show up even more professionally. Sometimes that's just in the mind. Now I want to help you to take what's in your mind into your heart and be able to share that in a way that feels confident and good. And this is one of the first most important ways. So while we're here together, let's just do it. First and foremost, I want you to remember the more grounded that you are in your vision, in your knowing of why you're creating it, the more your audience is going to feel it. Remember, people don't only buy what you do, they buy why you're doing it. So let's begin. 4 breaths in, holding it for 4, and exhaling for 6. And when you say, ah, I want you to imagine that everything's going from your mind into your heart. Because your heart literally has an electromagnetic field around it of about 6 feet. So I want you to imagine that you're in this bubble of energy, of the outcome that you want to create by creating content. Now remember, there is someone out there that you want to speak to. So I love to do this when I first wake up. I love to ask, what should I create today that can change my ideal client's life? And I actually have a name for my ideal client, and I know very clearly who she is and what she's looking for. And so if you don't have your ideal client, you can even just ask yourself, what am I to create today that can really help this person that I know I'm here to support? What is it that I should say today? Let her know that I understand her. There's so much information, the heart-mind connection, and how you create this electromagnetic field around you and how people can actually feel it. Now you might be asking me, well, Melissa, what does that really have to do with being visible? Well, that's where being magnetic and the magnetic woman is really born. I want to help you to feel magnetic from within. Know that before you press recorded, you're in this state of coherence and that you're clear on what you want to communicate with your audience. That's why I would love for you to practice this every single time you go to create content. 4 in, hold for 4, and 6 out. Now, if you'd like to watch that video that I created, you can go ahead and see it here. And I would love for you to leave me a comment below and tell me, what is your expertise and what would you love to share with your audience? Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you on the next one.